Hello. Hopefully this will be a fairly quick project. I shared a little notepad that I'd made, and I said I'd come back and do a video, and obviously I learned a few mistakes from this. So when you turn this over, obviously that would now be upside down. So we're going to play with that, and I'm going to do a couple of versions without the paper pad. So let's get started. What I have done is I had some spare book board. So this was the inside of a book cover, and I have literally just painted around the edge. So this cover is approximately 4 3/4 by just under 4 inches. This was just basically set by the book that I had left, the book board. It didn't I didn't cut it to this size purposely. It was just what I had left. So I have taken, this is mostly scrap paper, except some of these pages, the ones with the lines on, are actually old diary pages from out of date diaries. So some of those pages do have dates on that are out of date, and what I've done is I've just gone through and added some of the entomology, bugology stamps here and there. You can see a few. I've just stamped some of those pages just to make it a little bit more interesting. There you go. I've flattened the edge and I've put a paper clip on just to keep that still while I make my cover. So I've already pulled out this page. I'd kind of like this on the top. Now, this was the edge of my book. So I think I'm going to have that at the top where my coil will go. I'm going to do a non-coil version because obviously I'm using my cinch. And if you don't have a cinch, we're going to do another version later. So this one, what I'm going to do to keep it nice and easy, and just add my paper to my cover, take my craft knife and very carefully just cut okay. So that's going to be my cover, and now I want to cut the piece for this side, and I'm flipping it because, like I said, I want this way up, and I'd like these bugs. So I'm just going to line that up best I can again and just cut around my book cover. If you can always draw around this and just cut it out with scissors. Now I'm going to be using these scraps, possibly this piece here. So I'm just going to put that aside. Definitely not getting rid of scraps. I want this. Perfect fit. So I'm going to glue these on. So now that those are glued in place, I'm just going to ink around the edges. And as you can see, that will flip up and that one will now be the right way up. And now I'm just going to cover my back cover in exactly the same way. Just find a piece that I like. So that's going to be my back cover. Now for the inside cover, this one will need to be the right way up. But what I want to do is actually have a pocket on this particular one. Is take my cover and decide the picture that I want. And I'm going to draw around my cover. I'm going to add that piece in. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm not going to cut that bottom piece. So I'm going to cut around my lines like that. I'm just going to add this to where my cover will be, And then I'm going to fold up, burnish that down. So in the back, we're going to have a little pocket. So that will sit on there like that. When I glue it down, I'm going to make sure the fold at the pocket is nice and lined up, so I can trim any of these bits if I really need to. A little bit of glue down our pocket. I'll glue the back pocket on. Okay, and I do have a little tiny bit to trim off. And then I'm just going to add this one. And just in case, this particular glue, I'm having a lot of trouble with my art glitter glue at the moment. The pin, I think I've bought 3 of these little top pieces, and the pin, when I pull it out, it loses the little ball end, and I don't want to pay for any more. So I've tried blue tack, and that's just drying out the tip. I can't get it to work. So I'm waiting for an order of some of those little tiny plastic bottles that I used to use before, because the glue is brilliant. So this glue was sent to me by the wonderful Wilma, and it's very similar to Fabri-Tac, very easy to use. But yeah, it's fabulous glue. So thank you for sending that to me, Wilma, again. And again, I'm just going to go round and ink my edges. So now we have our front covers and our back cover. And I think I'll add my little elements once I have done my cutting. So I've got another little paper clip that I stamped. If you've used a cinch, you guys know you need to make sure they are very, very well lined up before you start cutting your holes. What I have done is I'm putting in my cover. And this is not a cinch tutorial. I do have one which I will pop up here, but this particular cover, I'm just going to give you a brief explanation of what I'm doing. And what I've done is I've just guessed the middle of my bug to about the middle of 2 of the pegs. Now I've got 6 pegs that will cut. I've pulled these 2 out because that one would catch the edge of my cover. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide my guide, so I know if I line up here, I'm going to be punching in the right place when I do the other covers. So I'm going to punch the front cover. So you can see my holes. Then I'm going to do my back cover, and I'm having the inside facing, so I know it's going to line up with my front cover. Punch that. And now if I put the 2 covers on top of each other, they're going to be matched. And now I'm going to do my papers, and I'm going to do a few at a time to make sure that they are all equal. So I'm going to cut my coil down to 6 prongs. And now I'm going to add all my pages. So then I add my front cover and my back cover so it's facing. See if I've missed any pages. They seem to all be attached. And I can't really show this, but I'm now going to close my coil. It's a 1 1/4 inch coil, so I made sure I've got that set. And I'm just going to turn mine over and just double check. So now I can flip my back cover over like so. And I have my little notebook with my front cover the right way up, and my back cover has a little pocket. So I'm going to grab a few of those little things that I made. I think I'm going to put this one in my back pocket like that. And I'm not going to decorate all of this, but what I am going to do is grab one of my little elements above where it says specimen slide, use a little clip. I think it's a bit prettier. Plus you can then move it around if you want to. Okay, so I'm really happy with that little notebook, and yeah, that's if you're using a cinch. So let's have a look at how we could do another one. I've already prepped these. I have this particular one. What I did was I actually printed, in case you are following the peculiar incidents at Potter's Infirmary, I have printed my story, which is free on my website in the members area. I have printed it onto this paper, but when I cut the paper for my printer, I did it wrong. So I've cut these. The cover is 4 inches by 8 inches because that's going to fit with the paper pad. And I've cut this one 4 inches by 5 inches. This is very, very short on paper, but I'm going to show you what I want to do with that one. So this one, if you were making one of these and you did 4 by 8, you will get a front and a back cover out of one of your pages from the paper pad, but I actually want to use the digital this time. So I've picked a few pages that I love, and I'm going to try and find 2 that work really well together. I want that one for my front cover and that one for my back cover. And on my little 4 by 5, I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to use that as my back cover because I'm going to embellish the front. So the way I did my cover, this is just cardboard packaging, nothing fancy for this one. Let's do the big one first. I'm going to take my front cover. I'm just going to quickly cut this to size. Now these sheets are traveller's notebook size, so they are 21 by, I think it's 21 by 22. I'm pretty sure, in centimetres that is. It's more than big enough to fit our cover. So I'm gonna put that on here. Okay, so I'm going to glue these into place. I'm going to start with the back cover because I might need to trim. You don't need digitals to do this project. You could absolutely use scrapbooking paper of anything you have. You can use old wrapping paper. These would make great stocking fillers. So that is my first cover, and I'm going to ink all of this, obviously. Now I'm going to use this one to make my back cover in exactly the same way. So I've given those both an ink. We now have a back and a front cover, and I also have some pages of scrap. Any pages would work. Like I said, this was just because I made an error cutting another project. Pop this on a piece of paper. Oh, my tummy's rumbling. Pop this on a piece of scrap paper and cut that. I'm going to fold that in half. Take my crocodile or any other paper hole punch you have. You can use any hole punch for this. And I'm going to mark a little, use my guide. I'm just going to put a hole in like that. Okay, so when I open that up, I've got my holes about there. Now I think they might be a little bit too far away, so I'm going to spin that round, and this time I'm going to do another 2 holes, but I'm going to do them a little bit closer together. I think that's going to be fine for the type of cover I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is take my guide, draw my little holes on my cover, then I'm going to use my crocodile again to cut those holes out. So now I'm going to take a few of my pages at a time, line those up with my cover, Again, draw my, ooh. And then cut my holes. Take my next batch of papers, line up my cover. And then cut these. And then finally, we need to do our back cover. Right, so this time, like I said, I'm not going to use my cinch. And I've got two options. I was going to do one on this and one on this cover. This one I'm going to do at the side. I don't know if I've got time to do that now because I am actually very short of time now. I've realised what the time is. For this one here, I'm going to use two little rings. Okay, you can get those anywhere. They're called paper rings. But this one, I'm going to do something much, much more simple. And I'm just going to pull off some thread. This is just garden twine. I'm going to post it through all of my holes. I'm going to cut that piece off. And then I'm going to thread it through all of the holes on this side. But what I don't want to do as yet is tie this off. And I'll show you why shortly. Okay, so just going to give that a little tap. And what I'm going to do to make sure I've got plenty of gap, I'm going to put a pencil up against my covers like that. And I'm going to tie this off. So I'm going to tie that in a nice tight double knot. And then I'm going to do the same the other side. But this is going to give us a nice rustic notebook. Okay, make sure that's pulled. And now I'm going to pull my pencil out. And I'm going to trim my edges. Now you might want to have a little bow. I didn't want a bow. You can have a bow if you want one. Do whatever works for you. But that pencil should give us enough room to kind of open our notebook pages. So it's given us almost enough room to open our, okay, so that's not really loose enough. So what you might want to use is something a little bit thicker than a pencil to make sure you've got plenty of room to turn your pages. Maybe my Sharpie. That would have just given a little bit more looseness to those threads. So that's a little error. A little label down here. So I'm going to give that an ink. And we'll put that there. And I have lots of different things. I was planning on using one of these on the front of this one. So I'd planned on using this particular cover and that on top, and then I was going to use that as the back of my notebook. But I have unfortunately run out of time, so that will have to be a project for another day. But these are my two little notebooks. I hope you will at least try out one of these because, you know, it's such a cheap and easy way to make a little present. And like I said, you don't have to use digital. You can use wrapping paper, you can use book pages, anything, but a piece of cardboard and some pretty paper and your scraps will make a really pretty notebook. So I will see you all again really soon. I hope you enjoyed that quick project. I will see you later. Bye.